the marketing is shifting today. You're moving away from just your traditional business and how you really have to incorporate this concept of community. And I want to explore that in different businesses.
Okay.
So that's today's topic. How do we move forward from traditional businesses and encompass communities? Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Marketing on Tap. This is my mate, Danny Brown. I'm Sam Fiorella. Today, we're going to carry on with yoga pants.
Hey, I'm still not wearing mine now.
Yeah, he's still not wearing his. Lululemon is following us now, apparently. Danny got a whole shipment of free yoga pants. But I read an article just this morning, in fact, about Lululemon's new venture, which is turning their stores or their business really into a bit of a membership program. They are now starting to sell memberships where for, I think it's $128 Canadian, you can get not only a pair of their yoga pants with a special emblem on it, but you get other perks like access to certain classes and other things inside of a box. And it's the idea here is that you're getting more than just the physical retail experience. They're trying to create some kind of a community. Anyway, we want to talk about that and how the marketing is shifting today. You're moving away from just your traditional business and how you really have to incorporate this concept of community. And I want to explore that in different businesses.
Okay.
So that's today's topic. How do we move forward from traditional businesses and encompass communities? In the meantime, though, we got something really interesting.
We've got a new beer, Red Racer, who's over in Barrie, Ontario. Normally they're known for their IPAs and some of their stouts, and their amber ales, but they've brought out a s'more stout.
A s'more stout.
So you've got your mix of, your cracker biscuits, your marshmallow, your chocolate.
Okay,
and since we're getting so close
for normal people, cracker biscuits are graham crackers.
Well, we're getting close to cottage season again, so. But
right.
anyway, so that's,
cannot wait to see Robert's face on this one.
So it's not a huge beer. So I think it's more like an easy seasonal for an end of night drink.
All right. Okay. So again, this is one of those beers that is a cross between dessert and a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Let's give this one a try.
Okay,
wait, Robert, I need to get you on the Robert cam. Where are we? There we go. Oh, that's actually really good.
Nice. That's like an English ale. Yeah, that's very much.
And it's warm, so it's perfect for Robert.
Yep. Yeah, it's not been chilled to perfection. So that's very good. Good job, Red Racer. That's. I'm going to grab a couple of bottles of that on the way home. That's really nice.
You know what? I'm really liking this. I'm not sure that I got Robert effectively on that one. I think I ended up taking a picture of him instead of a video. But for the record, Robert actually seemed to not grimace at this one, so it's good. Okay, Danny, let's get back to the topic at hand. Lululemon, turning their product or their business from a product business or retail business to a membership-based business, which is kind of interesting. I read a little bit about that in this article where the president was saying that they really listen to the audience and they really want to get involved in the local communities, which I thought was really kind of interesting. Is this what the future of every business is going to go to community-based engagement?
I think it's certainly a good idea. I mean, you look at a lot of retailers now, they're going to the local approach. Lululemon, we spoke about it last week. They tanked with their sales. They're trying to climb back up. And even now, if you look at the stocks, they're still below where they were earlier in the year. For these guys, I'm not sure how effective this. It's a first stab at it, so we've yet to see. But you mentioned it's $128 a month.
Yeah,
the average leggings cost $98. Then you've got the perks and the gifts are included in shipping. So they're going to be taking a hit on that. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But yeah, I mean...
Well, interesting on the price. One of the things that the president said in the article that I read was that they're actually considering upping the price based on such positive initial demand for this program. Now, I don't know if that's just bluster and marketing on his behalf or if there's actually that kind of...
Well, but that's another thing, though. I mean, one of the golden rules in marketing is you don't increase your price immediately after large because you're going to piss off the potential customers you could have had at the large price. Going with a price you're happy with, and then maybe reduce it if you need to, or go up that way. So I don't know. I'm biased against Lululemon because of the whole thing that we spoke about the other week there. And my legs don't look great in their yoga pants. So that's another reason.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, we look at some of the brands we shop with, and some of the brands I shop with, it's very community driven. It's people that are involved in the local community, either sponsoring, sports fields and school kids, or partnering with other businesses, etc. And as people move away from corporations that are seen as tax grabs and treating employees like crap, like Tim Hortons we spoke about a few weeks back, I do think consumers are starting to be very more selective about who they shop with and what they give back.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one because I think that this is actually a brilliant move on their part. I too, like you, just don't like the brand. I don't like the way that the snobbiness of the brand. I don't like the way that they've reacted to customer complaints. And certainly besides the fact that I don't wear yoga pants, I wouldn't shop there, and I am frequently trying to discourage my daughter and my wife from shopping there. But my personal feelings about the brand aside, I do believe that this is a logical evolution for them. We've over the last 3-4 months that we've been doing this podcast, we've talked often about businesses having to evolve beyond their reinvent themselves, and not just reinvent their business, but change the board game, right? Completely reinvent the industry, do something different. And I think for them, this is one way to reinvent their business, because part of what they're doing is their yoga pants that these members get actually has some kind of a special emblem on it, from what I read. And so when you're in a class, whether it's one of the classes that they've sponsored and that you get free as a member, or whether you're just going into like a regular gym and going to a yoga class, if you see somebody else in those, they're also a member. And the idea is that's to spark conversation. Goes, oh, you're a member too. You can sit down and have your chai tea after your yoga, or whatever it is. And so that concept of fostering community around your brand is frankly what we do for all of our customers, right? So that is a smart thing to do beyond. So I'm giving them kudos for this whole community building thing. I wish they'd get the rest of their brand in order and their community engagement in order. But I think that from a business perspective, this is great. And you move over to what Staples just announced. So Staples here in Canada, in Kirkland, Quebec, is the first one. They're moving away from retail. Well, not moving away from, but expanding their physical location to include co-working spaces.
Oh, okay.
Remember, we've already talked about this in the past where, Staples as an example of a business that's moving away from just product sales and going into services as a way to differentiate itself with their service centers, with their computer labs and all that stuff. Now they're actually restructuring their physical locations to offer open desks for people to come in and work. You can grab a coffee, you can network with other business people, collaborate. And then, of course, get your coffee and potentially buy product, or use the services that they have available to you, be it computers, printing, photocopying, whatever else they offer. So I love that idea because of the, again, they're looking at how do we build community around our brand, which is another reason for somebody to come into the store, whereas most people don't go into stores anymore. They buy online, right?
Yeah.
And incidentally, the second store that is being currently renovated is the one right down the road, the one that we go to, 370 something University Avenue. Yeah, I noticed the other day when I was in there, which was interesting because we talked about this. I needed some supplies. I ordered it online and I went to pick it up so that I don't have to spend time going up and down the aisles. Right. So that was one innovation that I think a lot of retailers are sort of getting involved in. So this is another one, giving me a reason to actually stay if I'm a small business, which makes sense. What do you think the impact on Staples is going to be with this shift that they're making?
I think it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously everybody knows them as a brick and mortar retailer that sells computer business supplies, etc. So it makes sense for them to move into that co-working space. My only query, because the likes of WeWork and places like that, have they left it too late? And, are they sort of pigeonholing themselves in now that nobody really knows what Staples is for? Are they a business supply place? Are they a co-working place? Are they something else?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be an issue. I mean, definitely you have to consider like what is your brand and focus.
Yeah.
You have to be focused when it comes to a brand. You can't be all things to all people. Marketing, 101. However, they are a business depot, which I think might have even been wasn't Business Depot.
Home Depot?
No.
Business Depot was the name we were going to come up with for like their services.
But Business Depot was actually one of their competitors or that they ended up buying. I used to work for Staples many years ago. I know all these little tidbits of trivia. Anyway, so that's what they're trying to do is we are part of your business. So I actually think they might have one step up on a place like WeWork. They don't necessarily have the facilities. They're not all over the globe, but they've already got so much real estate. Another thing they got going for them. How much real estate do they have across North America?
That's true. It's big real estate.
You know what I mean? And if it's the same kind of membership idea as a WeWork, where you can, as long as you have your card, you can get in and use those offices anywhere you go, wherever you're traveling across the country. It might be something kind of interesting.
Well, especially with the tie back to a loyalty program. Kind of like what Lululemon's doing. So you come, you co-work, and you get X percentage off. Or
you get either discounts in the store or you get some freebies. I know that there's a lot of these a lot of businesses are moving towards these loyalty programs to try and retain your business. It's not just about building community, like these box, like the beauty industry is still doing really, big on these subscription box services. Just always trying to find a way to connect you to that brand and get you that repeat business. So what I think might be kind of interesting for this conversation in the time we have left is why don't we take a look at this principle and how does it apply in general? So we talked about Lululemon expanding into some kind of a loyalty program, going beyond brick and mortar retail. We talked about Staples now looking at co-locating, workspaces for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Again, getting away from just straight line retail, brick and mortar. Let's take another industry, craft beer. That's one of our favorite topics.
Always.
So does that principle apply? Maybe let's brainstorm a little bit. What would we do if we were to start a craft beer brewery? Yeah. Which, by the way, when we retire, that's definitely what we're doing.
Wait till we retire?
Well, we can drink until then, but I'm not going to give up Sensei until that point. But what would we do differently? Like, how do we take a traditional brewery, like a craft brewery, and do something different? Because they're opening like crazy across this country, but they're also closing like crazy.
That's true. Yeah.
So what could they do differently? How do we?
There's a couple. I mean, one of the things that we've seen already is the beer clubs. So the small batch
beer club.
Yeah. So there's beer box. There's small batch dispatch, I think it's called, and where you basically pay a monthly or quarterly or annual membership, and every month you'll get 7 or 8 really small batch.
So it's like a wine of the month club?
Yeah, but you get 7 or 8 beers that you could never get, anywhere from across Ontario unless you lived in these little places. So the very rare and unique beers are hard to get beers. So I like that. I'm a member of the small batch dispatch. That's a real good one. But one of the things I'd like to see, which I don't really see anybody do. So if you go to a craft brewer, one of the things I love about going to the craft brewer tap room is the staff are so knowledgeable. And they'll talk to you about your likes, dislikes, what you normally drink, and recommend a beer. And that's great because you don't have to worry about picking the wrong beer or you've never been to a tap room before. But you don't see that online, right? So is there an opportunity? Because websites, for the most part, are the first touch points of a lot of craft brewers for the potential customers because they're located in very specific areas. So is there a way to do like a gamification quiz? Okay, have you drank Bud in the past? What do you prefer? So you go to the big macro beers. Did you like the XYZ beer? Okay, and based on, say, 4 or 5 quick yes or no tick boxes, okay, we're going to recommend you this sour, this pale ale, this, Pilsner, etc. And when you come into the tap room, we'll give you a free sampler, and you can keep your glass, that kind of thing, to get people into the room from the website.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. And definitely, again, picking up and learning from what the wines are doing. Like when you subscribe to one of those wine of the month clubs, they often send you a bunch of samples that you can sort of do the quiz and taste and what you like and then make comments. And then they'll give you the wine based on what they determine is your taste, which is, a result of the survey that you've done or the tasting that you've done. But to learn from what Lululemon is doing and what Staples is doing, their focus is really community. Building community around the brand. So I look at it a little bit differently. I'd say maybe take the concept of a tap room, which is difficult right now to make money at, right? Because there's just not enough. There's too many of them, and I guess there's just maybe not enough people that either take the time or that really just enjoy craft beer. I don't know why they're not busier than what they already are. And maybe make it more of a community center type environment. Right. So I know that the one that we were at just recently, Black Lab. One of the new breweries here in Toronto that are craft breweries that we just did an on-site at.
Yep.
I got an email from them or a social media post the other day where they do a mom's club. I think it's on Thursday mornings or something, where mom come in with their babies of all things and their dogs, and they just have a meetup.
Yeah.
And of course, they can sample the beer while they're there, and maybe buy some beer for themselves or their husbands when they go home. But I thought it was kind of a really interesting concept. Like, of all the places that you would think moms and their babies would go,
there's a tap room.
A tap room is not the place, but because it is it's dog friendly and it's a beautiful open space. Right, I thought that was a great thing, and I know what they're doing on quite frequently now. They're doing these oyster tasting, right? So they get a local restaurant or a local caterer to come in with oysters, and then you can sample the oysters while sampling their beer at the same time. So it becomes a place for the local community to go and hang out, as opposed to going to a bar, a typical bar or a restaurant or something like that. So it's a little bit more community focused, less pressure than you would maybe get at a bar. Maybe not as expensive as what you would normally spend at a bar. So that community idea, I think, is really kind of different, that they could potentially build more on than what they're already doing.
Yeah. No, I like that. I know there's a few brewers that take that community approach and they get involved in, charity fundraising for the local community. Great Lakes, their friends over in Etobicoke, they're having I think I invited you next week. They're having a sort of Christmas bazaar where they get 8 or 10 local craftspeople in, selling their goods, and they'll keep whatever they sell. The beers will be cheaper. You can donate to charity and food banks, etc. So, and they've built a huge loyal customer base there. So again, it's going back to that social responsibility on a smaller scale, but competing with the.
Sorry, I got to interrupt you. Is Robert's glass empty?
Good grief!
You actually had the whole thing?
That's why he's sitting down. He's going to sleep now.
Well, he is. He's going to fall asleep. He's going to be completely. Wow. I've never seen him finish one of our beers here while we're doing this.
Wow! Look at that, Red Racer. Kudos. That's amazing.
I think they need a round of applause for that. So we got to get a little bit more crazy than that, because I think that, again, just the community. Yeah, a lot of the craft brewers are trying to do that. What else could we do that's really just pushing the boundaries? Because to just say, we already have a tap room, let's offer some food and let's get the community to come in, turn it into a community center, offer it for, birthday parties and Christmas parties and things like that. Yeah, that's good. But is it enough? Because some of them are doing it and still not surviving. I think we need to we would have to push the limit a little further to changing their structure. Because remember, it's not about improving what you got. It's about completely tearing apart the business model and rebuilding and creating something different.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of just offering the space for community engagement, which I think a lot of them are already doing, and it's not always working, maybe create some kind of a community council or an advisory group where your advocates, your fans of the beer or of your place will help direct your next brew. You know what I mean? So teach them how to make beer, not to make it themselves, but if they understand the process behind it, it's not just a place to go and have a beer and maybe meet with friends. It's a place to go and actually direct, provide user feedback. Like if it was Robert in that community, says, give me the warmest, blandest beer possible. Whereas
and send him to the bar next door.
Yeah. I mean, and if he was, you were there, you'd say, no, I love IPAs. I'd love to see something done with IPAs.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever it is, for me, it would be like, what's the strongest beer you can possibly make? Let's experiment with that. Something again to change that narrative beyond just come here to drink beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like find some way to sort of expand it. You know what I mean? Maybe even turn it into, brew and food tastings or pairings or something like that. But basically it has to change beyond just the retail.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting the signal. We found our bell in our move into our new offices here.
Thanks, Stephen.
That's our last call. What's the one takeaway that you want that everybody should sort of think about as they leave listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I think obviously experiment, because that's what the guys are doing. Lululemon, that's the first thing for them, and see what works, what doesn't work, and try tailor it to obviously using the data that you get from, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work,
right?
And these are what the guys are doing when they're here, and basically taking your offline knowledge base to your online. No, reverse that. Your online knowledge base to your offline, based on your business.
I think that's definitely the lesson to be learned here from where Staples is moving, where Lululemon is moving, and certainly lessons learned from like Sears dying, which we talked about a few weeks back, is that you just cannot stay stagnant. The internet is disrupting so much more, than just, how we communicate online. It's really disrupting what's happening offline, and the concepts of building a community around your brand and allowing people to engage, whatever that is for you, I think is the takeaway that every business has to start thinking about. Otherwise, you will end up going the way of Sears.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that this is a really good conversation to keep having. And I'd like to sort of let's keep looking for these examples of how traditional businesses are reinventing themselves, to build on this community concept. So that's it for this week. I hope you found some of these ideas or this discussion helpful to your business. Join us again next week, where we will be talking about whatever. I know.
Just
whatever.
leave it at that.
We'll figure it out. And another beer. In the meantime, everybody, cheers.
Cheers.